I'm Dr. Kristen R. Bromley. This video series, which is part of my online music academy, specifically accompanies note reading books 1 and 2 from my method book series. Like all my books, this selection is available to purchase through Amazon and Google Play. For help, see the links in the description below. In the videos which are part of this specific course, I progress through the lessons in note reading books 1 and 2, explaining and demonstrating concepts and playing each of the songs and exercises contained therein, so you can hear how they sound and play them right along with me. You are of course welcome to view these videos with or without the book, but with the book you can work through all the songs and exercises, and in the process learn all the notes in first position and master the skill of reading written music notation. Alright, let's get to jamming in this lesson. Hi there, welcome back. Here we are in lesson 25, the last lesson of this book. It's pretty awesome. What an accomplishment. We have covered all sorts of rhythms that get played, and we have also covered all the keys that get played, except there are two we're going to talk about today, and those are keys with 7 sharps or 7 flats. They're unusually used, but occasionally they do pop up, so we're going to talk about them a little bit. We're also going to finish off the lesson with some really fun challenge tunes, challenge melodies, challenge pieces to play together, which will be kind of fun. Way to top off the end of this book. And we're going to talk a little bit about ways to practice the scales, maintain our knowledge of where the notes are, and then talk about, hey, let's continue on from here and continue learning to read music up the neck, and also just playing a lot of music that has written notes and getting to play parts, do repertoire books, and so on. Alrighty, so let's dive in. So here in this lesson, we're on pages 156 to 162. We're starting on page 156. So the first order of business is talking about a review of scales and keys. It's really important to memorize the keys, memorize the scales. It really helps us out a lot, both in our physical technique, our coordination between our left and right hands, but also in our ability to read music and play music that's written in notation. So it really helps us out. There's 3 tips, 3 different ways you can practice playing the scales, sort of explained there. The first way is to go through the chromatic scale, and we've played the chromatic scale before. So we can go through the keys chromatically, as far as the root note moving through the chromatic scale. So for instance, we have written there A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, E, F, G flat, F sharp, G, and A flat. Now, the only one that shows its enharmonic note, remember that an enharmonic note, those are 2 notes that are written differently on the page or have two different names, but sound the same to our ear. So, for example, A sharp and B flat. A sharp and B flat are enharmonic pitches because they sound the same when we play it. Doesn't matter, it doesn't sound like one versus another. It's the same pitch when we play it. But written on the page and by name, it's 2 different pitches. So they kind of like a superhero, 2 identities. Clark Kent is Superman, that sort of thing. But we see him as Superman here, and then we see him as Clark Kent here. Not to say A sharp or B flat, which one's Superman or Clark Kent, but it's just an example. So, as we go through that chromatic scale, we don't have keys on sharp pitches. We don't use those because they would take all the notes being sharp plus some of the notes having double sharps, and it's just who wants to read that when you can just read the simpler version, which is usually off the flat pitch. So for example, B flat and A sharp, we just established our enharmonic pitches. We play in the key of B flat major and G minor because in that key we only have 2 flats to read. But if we were in A sharp major, we would have all the notes sharped plus some would be double sharps, and why bother with that? That's a mess. There's no need to. So the one exception of sharp pitches is that when it comes to G flat major or F sharp major, it doesn't matter because both have 6. So G flat major has 6 flats, F sharp major has 6 sharps. It's the same either way, and we end up seeing both keys out there. And it sounds the same to our ear. So those are enharmonic keys, and that's what we're learning about here in a few minutes with C sharp major and C flat major, A sharp minor and A flat minor. Those, we have some enharmonic keys that match those, which is why we don't always see 7 sharps and 7 flats in the key signature. It's more rare, but occasionally we will run into it. And we certainly see the accidental from it. We certainly see, for example, we certainly see B sharp. We saw B sharp in the lesson 2 lessons ago with the sharps as an accidental. We saw B sharp show up a few times, and with the one with the flats, we do see F flat show up from time to time as an accidental. We also can sometimes read in these keys. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, number one way to practice the scales is I could play my A major scale all the way to the highest note, to the lowest note, and back to that lowest root. And then I could play my B flat major scale. And so forth, all the way up to the highest note, down to the lowest note, and back to that B flat. And then I could play B and C and so on. I don't have to start on A, I could start on C and go through them. I could start on any one of them and go through chromatically. That's a great way to do it. Really tests how well we know the notes in each of those keys and with those scales. A second way, one that might be more useful in sort of memorizing them, is to work through in the order of no sharps or flats, so starting with C, and then adding 1 flat. So that goes to the key of F major, then 2 flats B flat, 3 flats E flat, and so on until we've added 6 flats. If you wanted to after today, you could even go and add 7 flats, but there isn't technically a need to. And then do the sharp keys. So start with 0, which is C, then add 1 sharp, G major, 2 sharps, D major, 3 sharps, A major, and so on. And the order of those is written there for you. And then you could do the same sort of thing with the minor scales as well. And I didn't mention that specifically, but you can go through the minor keys with the chromatic scale as well. Now with the minor keys, we do run into some sharp root notes. So, a third way that we can do it is to go around something called the circle of fourths. We haven't really talked about that, and there's no need to here, though we do in the theory and technique book. But if you want to get into theory and technique and really knowing theory all across the guitar and developing your technique, then that's the book to explore for all of that. And you're in a good place to start doing that if you've been learning notes and have also been working on some chords. So the third way, though, is around the circle of fourths. So what that means is I'm going to start out in the key of C, and I'm going to play my C major scale. Then I'm going to do the one that comes off step 4 of that scale next. So C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to play my F major scale. And so on. And then after I've done that one, I'm going to go off step 4 of that scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on B flat, and I do B flat, and I continue on. Now, as we go through it in this way, we're going to actually add flats until we come up to 6 flats, which also matches 6 sharps. And then we're going to move backwards through the sharp keys, so we end up having 6 sharps, and then 5 sharps, 4 sharps, 3 sharps, 2 sharps, 1 sharps, no sharps. And you can do the same thing through the minor keys. You can also go through it backwards from that. So you could start and go a fifth. If you go backwards, it's going to be a fifth. So if I start on C, and then I start on the fifth of that scale, so G, and then that's going to add 1 sharp, and I can go that direction. That's a great way to practice the scales as well. So that's a little tidbit. It really helps to practice them until you just kind of know the keys and know where they are, and you can read in any key. It's a great warm-up. It's a great technical exercise. Okay, so let's talk about these enharmonic keys. The enharmonic keys that we're looking at today specifically, and this one is C flat major, which matches B major, and then we're also going to look at C sharp major, which matches D flat major. The other ones that sort of exist we've played before, and that's G flat major and F sharp major. We did it in the last 2 lessons, and I just mentioned that. So C sharp major, which is also the relative of A sharp minor, has 7 sharps, so every pitch is sharped. So we looked at this, but F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and now we add B sharp, which we played some of 2 lessons ago. So in lesson 23, so our B sharp, we just go up to that C natural, and B sharp are anharmonic equivalents. But we're going to be reading it as C sharp. Then C flat, all the notes are flat. So B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and now F flat. F flat being the new one. We've run into it as a chromatic pitch before, thrown into songs, but F flat goes from F, I go down 1 fret, F flat, enharmonic equivalent to E natural. So we're going to read some with these just to get a little bit of practice with it, which will be kind of fun. But before we do, show us the enharmonic equivalent. And this is why we don't see the 7 sharps and 7 flats. Key signatures show up very often. So C sharp major and D flat major are enharmonic equivalents. The key of D flat major has 5 flats. 5 flats is easier to read than 7 sharps, so that's why we see D flat. But if you look, they're enharmonic because the names of the pitches, as you go through, it's the exact same pitch, it's just the 2 different names for it. So C sharp versus D flat, D sharp versus E flat, E sharp versus F natural, F sharp versus G flat, G sharp versus A flat, A sharp versus B flat, B sharp versus C. We have the exact same scale. So if I continued up, I didn't write this pitch again to end it off, but either way I say it, it sounds the exact same. Same thing with C flat. It matches B major. So C flat and B are natural, same note. D flat, C sharp, same note. E flat, D sharp, same note. F flat, E natural, same note. G flat, F sharp, same note. A flat, G sharp, same note. B flat, A sharp, same note. So any old way I play it, it's going to sound the same, but I can see it written differently. So enharmonic, different name, but sounds the same. That's what that means. Okay, so if we look there at page 157, we have 3 melodies that we get to play with in the key of C flat major. Practice a little bit here with 7 flats. So you just have to remember, we're going to flat everything. Let's go ahead and try it. So you're going to have a 3-beat count in. We come in on 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and. We'll take it kind of slow as we're going to have to be processing all these flats. So you got 1, 2, 3. To rest. Okay, let's do number 2, shoe fly. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, and 2 and 3, 4, 3, 1 and 2, 4 off. Okay, let's do number 3, the Wabash Cannonball. This comes in on beat 4, so I'll give us a 3-beat count in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, Okay, let's flip over to page 158 and we'll do the sharps. Okay, so here we are on page 158 with number 4, Yankee Doodle. We're now reading in C sharp major, so 7 sharps. So now we got to think sharps. Every single note is going to be played as a sharp. So let's go ahead and do it. Comes in on beat 4. Give us that 3-beat count in since we're in 4/4 time. We'll come in with G sharp. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's do number 5, The Streets of Laredo. This one's in 3/4 time. 1-beat pickup, so I'll give us 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and 2, and 3, and we'll be in just like that. Here we go. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 2. 1 and 2. Okay, so if you wanted more practice with that, you could actually play either any of those with the other one, meaning we didn't have any accidental notes, so I could play The Streets of Laredo in C flat, just read it with all flats instead of all sharps, Yankee Doodle with all flats, and then flip back over the other page and do all those ones with all sharps if I wanted more practice with that. Or anything in the key of C throughout the book, anything without the sharps and flats, any sharps and flats or any accidentals through it. So a lot of those first 9 lessons of the book are in the key of C major or have no sharps or flats. So you could play through all of those with this if you wanted more practice with that. But it shows up usually very rarely, and it's usually in a song that is modulating, meaning it's moving from one key to another. So it's changing keys throughout the song, and it just makes sense for those few bars or for however long that we're reading in 7 sharps or whatnot. Okay, so the next things we're going to do now is we're going to play some of these challenge pieces, so to speak. Some of these melodies there are technically more challenging, which we've played through this whole book, so these should be kind of fun for us. And that's how we're going to finish off this lesson, is playing these pieces that are kind of fun and a little bit more challenging. So, Hava Najala. I don't really know how to pronounce that quite exactly, but it's probably going to be a familiar melody to you. Number 6 on page 159. Hava Najila. Something like that. That's kind of how it sounds. So here we go. Watch for the G sharp accidentals. They're going to be here and there. Otherwise, the key signature shows no sharps and flats, so we'll just go with that. Okay, here we go. I'll give us a 4-beat count in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, rest. 2, rest. Rest. 4, 1, 2, rest. 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 4, 1, and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, now if that was a little faster than you can read it perfectly, then just work those sections that are hard for you and bring it up to speed so you can play it right along with me at that tempo. Okay, let's look at number 7 together, In the Hall of the Mountain King. This one, when we get to the third line, we're going to play that line twice. You see the repeats at both ends of that. So we're going to play that line twice and then we'll go on. This one has some accidentals in it as well. Notice, for example, in the second measure, D sharp. D sharp carries all the way through the measure until we see the D natural. So we're going to have D sharp, B, D sharp, D natural. Then we got the B flat showing up as an accidental. That same sort of thing happens up an octave in the second measure of the second line. And then in the third line, we've got E, F sharp, and G sharp. F sharp and G sharp added in as chromatic pitches. In the next measure, we have G sharp. Remember that G sharp is going to carry through the measure. That happens both in the first measure. It carries through when we see that G note again. It's going to be G sharp as well. And then that happens in the second measure. That G sharp is going to carry clear through the measure. So when we see G note again, it's going to be G sharp. And then we have that same thing happening again in the third measure, and the fourth measure shows up with G sharp. The last line, that second measure, is the same as the first line, where we have that chromatic in the second measure. The other thing I should point out is in the third measure of the second line, at the end of it, we're going to have that high A note that sits above the staff on the first ledger line. So we have an open E right before it that gives us a chance to shift to it, and then we got the G. So if we play with our pinky the A, our middle finger the G, and then we can shift back down on that open E. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one. I'll give us the 4-beat count in. 1 and 2 and ready and go and. Now with some of these, like this one, it's fun to get it as fast as you can get it to go. We'll take it a little bit faster, not as fast as I could take it to go, but you can work on it as fast as you can get it to go all on your own. We'll go a little bit faster. Here you go. 1 and 2 and 3 and go and. 4 and. 4 and. Okay, let's flip on over to page 160 now. Okay, so here we are on page 160 with number 8, St. Louis Blues. This is a really fun old blues one. Now, it's not written this way as far as what we can see on the page, but this would usually be done with swung eighth notes. And we've seen things with the dotted eighth note followed by 16th note through all the eighth note figures telling us this is what I want. Here we're just going to kind of interpret it that the ones that fall on the beat, the eighth notes that fall on the beat, are going to get 2/3 of the beat, and when it's followed by another eighth note on the offbeat, it's going to get only 1/3. So we're going to have this kind of a feel instead of. So we're going to kind of swing those eighth notes. Chromatics throughout, but we're just going to go ahead and read it. The thing to notice, though, before we do, is there's two different places with first and second endings. So we start off the top and we go all the way until the third line and we see a repeat. And there isn't one facing the other way, and when we have that happen, we know that it just tells us to go back to the very beginning. So we're going to do that. And then as we play through this second time, instead of playing the measure with the number 1 and the 3-sided bracket over it, or 3-sided rectangle, we're going to play the one with the number 2 over it instead. We're going to continue on, and then we have some measures, and we're going to, as we continue, we're going to run into another first ending with a repeat bar back. This one we go back until we actually see the one there in the middle of the third line, and we play it again, and this time we'll take the second ending in place of the first ending, and we'll play it all the way through to the end from there. So you may want to take a moment and look at the accidentals. In the second measure, there's a G sharp. There's also an E flat. We're going to see E flat from here to here, here and there. On the fourth line, we're going to see an F sharp. We're going to see that F sharp on the third line as well, and the E flat. On the fifth line, we got a D sharp showing up. So we're going to see some of these here and there, and then we see E flats again on the second to last line. Okay, now the last line of this one's actually pretty tricky, so you may want to take a look at it and play through it a few times before we actually play through the song. The first part isn't bad, those first 5 notes, but then you got these skips from E to G, E to F, E to A, E to C. So that can be a little bit tricky. See a boom, 1, 2, 3, G, F, A, C. You may want to just play through that a couple times. I didn't quite estimate how to get to that F right. This is a big skip. 1, 2, 3. So practice that as many times as you need to. We'll go ahead and do it. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 4, rest. Rest to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 4, rest. 2, rest to 4, rest to 2, 3, 4, 4, rest. Rest to 4, rest to 2, ready, and 4, rest. Rest to 4, rest to 2, 3, 4, rest. 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, rest. Rest to 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, rest, 4, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, rest. 2, rest to 4, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, rest. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 1, 2, off. Super fun. Okay, let's go over to page 161. We'll do number 9, East Liverpool. Now this one's in 6/8 time, and as a review, 6/8 time means we're grouping 3/8 notes together, and we kind of have 2 beats per measure. 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there are a few spots throughout this one where we have 16th notes. And with the 16th notes being in sort of this tripletized fill, or groups of 3 with the 8th notes, it may help to subdivide by thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and especially in the places where we have a dotted 8th note followed by a 16th note. That rhythm may just be harder to find. For example, the 4th line, 2nd measure. So if I was thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1, 4 and 5 and 6 and 1. So it may help find those spots. Besides the dotted 8th followed by the 16th, there's even a spot where we have, or a couple spots where we have the 16th note followed by the 8th note. So the dotted 8th note. So 1 and 2 and 3, and like the on the last line, the first measure. So you have the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and may help find those rhythms. Anyhow, let's go ahead and do it. There is a C sharp accidental that shows up in about 3 different places. So I'm going to catch that up there. So you want to take note of the key signature. We have 1 sharp. We're in the key of G major, so all the F notes throughout the song will be played as F sharp. As a count-in, I'll give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3. And we'll be in. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On 6. Okay, let's flip on over to page 162. Okay, so here we are on page 162 with number 10, The Entertainer, a little Scott Joplin action. So, great challenging thing to end the book with, here with number 10, with all the skips and stuff that happens in this sort of a sound was happening on piano. This is a good one for us to do. It's in the key of C, but we do have a few places with accidentals. We're going to see D sharp show up in both octaves, and we'll see F sharp show up as well. So let's look at the road map. So as we go through, we're just going all the way, and we're going to hit, when we get to the 5th line, that first measure, we're going to hit the repeat sign at the end of it. It's going to take us back to the first full measure. Note that that bar was a first ending, so as we come back around, we're going to replace that bar by the one that's after it that has the number 2 as our second ending. We've done that sort of thing a lot, so no big deal. We continue on, and we get to the last line. We're going to again run into a repeat sign in that first ending. It's going to take us back to about the middle of the song. It's the bar right after the previous second ending is where that repeat bar is. We're going to play through that, and this time take the second ending. In the second ending, at the end of it, we see the phrase D, S, al coda. That means go back to the sign and play to the coda. So at the top of the music, the very first measure, just sitting over it, you see a sign, a little S type thing with a dash through it and 2 little dots. We go back to there, so that's sitting at the beginning of that first full measure. So we're going back to that first full measure, and we're playing through until we see the phrase to coda. So we're going to play the first line, second line, third line, fourth line. At the end of it, after we get to the end of that, we see the little to coda with a circle with two lines through it, vertical and a horizontal line. And we're going to then jump to the bar with that sign marked coda, which is the last bar of the song. So that's kind of how that roadmap goes. Let's go ahead and play it. So we're in cut time. We'll treat it, though, I'll count it off as if we're in 4/4 time. We won't really be able to play it probably fast enough to really feel it in a true cut time anyway. So I'll give us a 3-beat count in, and then we'll come in with 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in that pickup measure. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3 off. Okay, quite a great challenging piece. I hope you're having fun playing the guitar. If that one was just way too much to keep up with me, then you just work on it and get it up. When you can rip through that, that's really quite an accomplishment. So I'm proud. I like to say I'm proud of you. You should be proud of yourself for accomplishing this much, learning all these notes. You've entered a small percentage of guitar players who can actually read in all the keys in first position. You've entered a small position even when you can know where all the natural notes to a degree are, but people only progress so far. And then to not only know where the notes are, but to actually be able to do it. So, congratulations, this is awesome. Where do you go from here? Well, book 3 in the Method Series, Note Reading Book 3, covers how to read all over the neck. And we practice in all the positions, reading in the keys all over the neck. So that's a great step to go, especially if you're wanting to play like in a jazz band or play classical music or something where we're going to read a lot all over the neck. And play in ensembles where you're reading music where you'll be reading all over the neck. That's a great thing to do, and you can do that. The other thing you can do is go on, and various repertoire books are planned as part of this method book series, and you can go and you can play in the method book, the repertoire books where you get to play right along with me, learn the different parts, play along with the videos. Play that music will all be written in written notations, so you can play those. You could also play the tablature book, only just reading the notation rather than reading the tabs. That's actually how I do the tablature book. I rarely use tabs anymore, other than to maybe remind myself how I want to finger something when I'm composing something or working something out. Anyway, have fun, keep at it. At the end of this book, there are some note location reference diagrams that you may see there on page 163 and 164 that may be useful to you, but you should know where all these notes are, so hopefully you don't need those. And just keep at it, and we hope to see you in some of our other lessons. Take care. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For help with other guitar playing skills, check out more of my method books and the numerous lessons available as part of my online academy here on YouTube. You can find more information about me and my products at kristenbromley.com. Take care.